I think I guess by definition you get a little bit worse mana because you have a third color, but you also get some more powerful cards that you get to bring to the table, like Kolaghan's Command, Thoughtseize, Painful Truth, stuff like that. With this blue-red version that Brian's playing, you're 2 colors, your mana's pretty good, obviously, because you're 2 colors, and you get access to 2 Desolate Lighthouses, where Andrew gets access to just 1. Who do we like in this matchup, as far as colors are concerned, stuff like that?
I think the discard spells put the matchup in the favor of the Grixis Twin player.
Okay.
Just being able to have that perfect information, being able to strip away key cards, they're both just so valuable, and the one player can do it and the other cannot.
Well, here's an Inquisition Kozilek. So here's a discard spell to get things started here for Tenjum off of a Watery Grave. You see a Twisted Image, a Dispel, a Snapcaster Mage. There's also a Deceiver Exarch, a Splinter Twin, a Remand, and an Island here in BBD's hand. Brian, number 7 on our Season 1 leaderboard. Andrew Tenjum, number 4. So a very important match for those players looking to qualify for the Players' Championship. But I've seen in the past, you have like maybe a blue-white control versus a blue-black control, and black has access to discard where white doesn't. Sometimes that plays a role in things. We'll see how big of a role the discard does play, because as you did mention, you get to work with a lot better information.
Sure, and depending on Andrew's hand, sometimes you want to be very patient with those discard spells.
Okay.
They get better and better as the game goes late, which is a little counterintuitive. A lot of matchups, discard spells get worse and worse as the game goes late. But the cards that you need to fight become more apparent, and it's more critical as the game goes longer in these twin mirrors.
Brian did search up Steam events. Now here's the Serum Visions. That'll resolve. He'll draw a card. Picked up a copy of Deceiver Exarch. Now Scry 2.
And his hand was very light on lands, so we'll probably see him keep some lands on top here.
He does scry both cards on top, pass the turn back over to Tenjum. Tenjum will sacrifice the Scalding Tarn, fall down to 19, and we'll see what land he does want to search up. It'll be a Blood Crypt. And Brian with a couple interesting one-ofs here this weekend. Main deck copy of Harvest Pyre, 2 main deck copies of Twisted Image, a main deck copy of Spell Snare. But a one that can play a huge role in things, 2 copies of Desolate Lighthouse.
Sure.
To Andrew's only 1, as Andrew draws a card for the turn. There's a Sulphur Falls. And now here's a Snapcaster Mage.
Okay, and you can see that the early discard makes perfect sense.
He is clearly emphasizing that. 2 Deceiver Exarch, a Splinter Twin, Twisted Image, Dispel, Remand. Any preference here as far as selection is concerned?
Well, he knows his opponent is light on land, so taking a cantrip like Remand or Twisted Image might be enticing.
Okay.
Depending on his hand, he might feel like he's got to take the Splinter Twin, which is
cannot do with Inquisition.
Oh, cannot do that, of course. Okay. And then Dispel is just the best counterspell for fighting in this matchup. So he has a lot of options. I would probably lean towards the Dispel, and we see him take that.
Now, of course, Brian did scry 2 on the top with the Serum Vision, so you have to imagine at least a 3rd land coming, potentially a 4th. But I think that of those cards, Dispel, probably the best. Twisted Image obviously can turn into just another card, which I think we're going to see Brian cash this in. So he'll draw a card here. No surprise that that's a land. Draw a card there. I think that's a land as well. So mana not going to be an issue for the next couple of turns here for Brian. But, you see this matchup, and you see that Brian just has the combo kill in his hand.
Yep.
Can't just straight up go for it. At least it appears that way, as he's going to sacrifice a Scalding Tarn.
Would be very risky.
Yeah, to say the least. Here's a basic island. But he might have some interest in doing something like just casting Deceiver Exarch right now to get it to resolve.
Yep.
I don't think that's out of line, but he's just going to crack a fetch land, and now he'll play an Exarch on Andrew's upkeep. He's going to try to, it's going to resolve. It looks like he's going to try to target Watery Grave. See if Andrew's going to use this mana for anything.
He's being very cagey with his hand.
Yep. You don't get to see Andrew Tenjum's hand.
Nope.
All right, he'll draw. It's crazy. The extra point of toughness on Deceiver Exarch changes the card so much. If it were a 1/3,
oh yeah,
I don't even know how good the deck would be.
Yeah, with Lightning Bolt being just one of the best cards in the format.
Yeah.
And Andrew's going to rep that Lightning Bolt here.
He'll attack here for 2. Brian, no interest in blocking because a Lightning Bolt would finish off the Deceiver Exarch.
Or worse, Colligan's Command.
That would be very bad news. A Sulfur falls in a passing of the turn, so we go back to Braun-Duin.
And we'd be real surprised to see Brian just slam a Splinter Twin here.
I would be shocked.
Yeah.
Unless he's got some sort of sick read. And here's an attack for 1. There's so many things that could go wrong. A Terminate, any other removal spell, a Deceiver Exarch, or a Pester Mite tapping it down. He could die on the way back.
Yep. Basically almost any card in his opponent's deck.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Scalding Tarn did come down after the attack. And now Tenjum's going to have a little end-of-turn action. Colligan's Command. We'll get confirmation on the modes of this card. Modern staple at this point. It'll be 2 damage and make Brian discard.
So Andrew doing a great job using his black resources to just attack the hand of his opponent.
Something I feel like he's almost forced to do. Brian going to discard a Mountain. Tenjum will untap these 4 lands. Snapcaster Mage, take a draw step for the turn. See where he wants to move towards now. You know, again, we're always going to work ourselves into a bit of a late game here between these 2 decks and the 2 players kind of posturing. The Twin Mirror is very difficult because if you make one mistake, you die. You know your opponent has Splinter Twin in hand.
Yep, you can't tap too many lands on your own turn.
Yep. And I'm trying to think, honestly, if there's ever really been a matchup like this in Magic's history where, you know, both players could kill the other at a moment's notice. Here's another Deceiver Exarch. Andrew knew about that one.
Yep.
So this can't come as much of a surprise. Snapcaster Mage could get eaten alive here. We'll see if Exarch does resolve. If so, what Brian wants to do with the trigger, untap one of his own lands or his own Exarch, or tap one of Andrew's lands. But with how Andrew is kind of motioning right now, it almost feels like he didn't expect this to be the case.
And the second Exarch is so much more expendable for BBD that he can afford to block and put him to the test here.
Yeah, about Lightning Bolt, Colligan's Command, stuff like that. Brian going to untap his own Steam Vents. There's a block. Snapcaster Mage down. And now Tenjum just going to pass the turn back. We are going to go back Brian's way. Remember, he has Splinter Twin. Andrew does know that.
And a remand.
Yep. It's funny trying to think about just what your opponent can have in situations like this. If you're kind of playing in a control mirror like this, just kind of what's on your mind the entire time?
Well, you certainly want to evaluate the risk-reward factor. You know, if I lose 2 cards here going for a Splinter Twin on a Deceiver Exarch, is that going to just lose me the game even if my opponent doesn't have the combo yet?
Okay.
You know, there's the risk of tapping out on your own turn and getting killed by your opponent, but there's also the risk of tapping out on your own turn and just losing 2 cards, and after you've already been hit with Inquisition twice and Colligan's Command, you now don't have enough resources to participate in the game.
Okay. With the way that Brian has sacrificed his fetch, it feels like he's almost just saying, I'm just going to go for it. Well, okay, this answers that. I dare you to have it, whatever it is.
Well, he puts him to the test.
Well, Tenjum's got to have something. Kolaghan's Command. Looks like we'll get confirmation on the modes here.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to return the Snapcaster and forcing his opponent to discard.
That's what it is. Discard, return, Snapcaster.
But he's still going to need an answer.
Yes. Sacrifice the fetch land. Now Terminate takes care of it, assuming that he does have one of those in his hand. Taking a look at the deck list. I don't even know if he has...
He has a Terminate in his deck. He has a Murderous Cut in his deck.
Okay. Remand.
Remand. He has some options here. We'll see what's in his grip.
All right, there's a cut. So Brian gets 2 for 1 there. And now here comes Exarch. And again, that's part of the appeal, I think, of playing black a little bit.
Sure.
Andrew's done a nice job of ripping apart Brian's hand, as you did mention. Cheap removal spells. And now he's got a Snapcaster Mage in his hand. Snapcaster Mage can recast that Murderous Cut.
Yeah, and you see the power of the Kolaghan's Command with the Snapcaster Mage.
Yep.
Get to make your opponent discard, you're getting back the Snapcaster Mage can get back the Kolaghan's Command, do it all again.
That's a tough spot there for Brian because his hand's getting picked apart a little bit. And so maybe he felt like he had to go for it. Maybe he felt he had a read on Andrew that he just didn't have it, whatever it would be. And so here's a Snapcaster Mage. Kolaghan's Command is going to take care of the last card. There goes the Deceiver Exarch. But right now, Tenjum could die with the right top deck.
Yeah, small window for Brian here.
It's a Desolate Lighthouse, not a Splinter Twin. That also just goes to show you the power of the discard spells because now Brian doesn't actually have cards to discard with the Lighthouse. So.
Yep. Less resources to work with overall.
Yep. So now you head back Tenjum's way. Tenjum's the one with cards in hand. He's got 3. 5 lands out there in a Snapcaster Mage for Brian Braun-Duin. A Deceiver Exarch, a Desolate Lighthouse among those 5 lands, but no cards in hand. He'll draw a card.
And this is the grindy part of the matchup that you had talked about. Brian went for it. He failed. Andrew didn't have the combo of his own to finish him off, and now they're going to play Draw-Go for a while.
Brian activates the Lighthouse, has Dispel in hand.
Did it look like he peeled another Splinter Twin?
It's a red card. I know that.
Which is almost frustrating for Brian because he wants both of those cards.
Very badly. There goes Dispel. If you're Andrew immediately, that's a huge tip-off.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever he drew is good. Because Dispel is so good in this matchup. All right, let's try again.
Yep.
Do you think he's just resigned to playing the game this way now?
Yeah, I think after he went for it once and it didn't work out and Andrew has more cards in his hand, he has to go for it again.
There's an island.
The more turns that he gives Andrew, the more likely it is that Tenjum's going to have the answer when he goes for it later in the game.
Well, for Andrew, obviously he needs an answer. And Remand will suffice, at least for right now. We'll draw a card. And we're going to head back Tenjum's way. Both these players 10-1, making deep runs into the tournament. There's a Scalding Tarn. And Tenjum will sacrifice that.
And if he's able to just kill the Deceiver Exarch here, then Snapcaster Mage can get to work on his opponent's life total. 9 life is not a lot of life. Both these decks have lightning bolts, and it can turn into a shorter game pretty quick.
Here's a twin on Snapcaster Mage.
Yep.
We saw Tenjum do this before. He'll activate.
And I expect to see the Murderous cast.
Yeah, you and me both. And here comes the cut. Dealt away a couple of cards.
Yep.
Take care of the Deceiver XR.
Leave that remand in the graveyard as an insurance policy for later.
An attack for 2. Also worth noting, Brian's at 7.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's what I was saying. That the game can get short real quick.
There's a bolt.
I believe he just drew that. It was very fortunate.
Tenjum will draw. Here's Lighthouse activation. Brian will discard Steam Vents. Draw for the turn. Deceiver XR. And now Serum Visions. Draw a card. Scry 2. Lighthouse going to go on the bottom. Mystery card going to go on top. Serum Visions done resolving. Brian considering playing the land, and he will. Tenjum will draw. Serum Visions for Andrew. Now it's time for him to scry.
And despite all the favorable trades that Andrew has had so far this game, he's still 1 or 2 cards away from just being comboed out again.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't been able to see his hand. We're not sure if he's got some counter spells or instant speed removal.
Scry resolving on both of these Serum Visions.
And we know that BBD has another X-Arc in his hand.
That he's not casting yet. So this is what makes this interesting, right? Because we saw Brian go for it twice, fail twice, and now he could have went for it again. And he said, you know what? I'm going to wait this time. Maybe he's trying to walk Andrew into it.
Sure. Yeah, maybe when my opponent goes for it.
It's a Vendilion Click. Perhaps it wasn't a Deceiver XR. He says, I'll target you. Spell Snare, Dark Slick Shores. The coast is...
Yep, the jig is up.
The coast is very clear. Again, we know Brian has Splinter Twin in his hand. His other card is a bit of a mystery. Tenjum will draw. He may have picked up a Snapcaster Mage. He did. And now there's Serum Visions. Draw a card, scry 2.
That's a good draw step, not a great one.
Okay. Here comes the X-Arc. Brian takes 1 here. He is in bolt range.
Oh, yeah.
Double bolt, bolt Snapcaster, stuff like that.
But the click is not very good at fighting with Deceiver X.
Yeah. Well, there is a decision to be made here if you're Brian.
I would guess he's just going to take the damage. I would take the damage here.
Yeah.
Probably need the click to trade with the Snapcaster if you don't have an answer for that.
Oh, Brian's sitting up in his chair a little bit. He says he'll take the damage. Fall down to 6. Simply pass the turn back. So he does have the XR. Jeez. And we know Tenjum isn't working with a lot. Spell Snare, Dark Slick Shores. And I think we're going to see Brian go for it again.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if he didn't.
What is this? A draw step and Vendilion Click. Okay. Oh, the back and forth. Splinter Twin Serum Visions. Any guesses what he's going to take? Could select any card.
Sure, could be anything, even a boat.
Yep, twin to the bottom. Draw a card from Dilling Click. Brian probably thinking so close.
And this is great that we got this much play out of the matchup.
This is just how it goes a lot. You know, we're already 20 minutes into the game.
Yep.
I think he might be looking at another Splinter Twin.
I think so.
It's complicated. It's back and forth. There's so much posturing. It's really cool to watch. Now, one of the cards I think Brian has in his hand right now is that Harvest Pyre, which I was shocked to see that on his deck list. It's a very unique inclusion. The graveyard is always huge for him, though.
Yep. He doesn't have a whole lot of cards that interact with the graveyard.
Yeah. So it's, in a way, almost a freebie.
Well, he does have the Snapcaster Mages.
Yep.
But not a lot outside of that.
You see your initial cost to cast Harvest Pyre, exile X cards from your graveyard. Harvest Pyre deals X damage to target creature. Used to be a combo with Boros Reckoner.
Oh, yeah.
Deal quite a bit of damage. Going to take care of the Exarch now. And the timing on this is great. He knows about Spell Snare.
Yes.
In Tenjum's hand, so it's very smart to get it out of the way now.
Yeah, he's ensuring that he won't be comboed out on the next turn.
Yep. Tenjum will draw.
Standard classic player Tom Keating.
Pass the turn back.
Please report to the main event stage. Once again, standard classic player Tom Keating to the main event stage, please.
All right, we'll try this again.
Yeah, how about that? Do you have an answer again? Man says yes. Brian. It might be a temporary answer, but it is an answer. Is going to remand his own Splinter Twin.
Yeah, he's preventing his opponent from drawing a card here.
This is also getting the Spell Snare out of hand too, right? It's a combination of the two.
Sure.
And there's Spell Snare. So Spell Snare takes care of Remand. Remand will resolve. Tenjum will draw a card. Splinter Twin back in Brian's hand.
We'll try it again.
I guess so. In a weird way, Brian has just, for the way this game has played, he's had to just be the aggressor.
Yes.
Just continuously try to go for the combo and see if it would work. And Tenjum has to always have the answer. Of course, he dies, and he's 3 for 3 in having the answer.
Or at least a reprieve.
Yes, with Remand. And if you're Andrew, I think if you're looking at your hand right now, you're saying, all right, well, Brian's definitely going for it again next turn.
Yes.
Given what he's done over the course of this game is, once he made the initial decision to go for it earlier in the game, he's always gone for it when he's had the chance to. So I think if I'm Andrew, even if I try to represent as much strength as possible, I think Brian's just going to shrug his shoulders and just say, I'm going to try to kill you again.
Sure.
So I think if you're him, you play with that in mind. Here comes Snapcaster Mage. Interesting attack here. What do you think this attack signifies?
Well, he might be representing another Kolaghan's Command. I believe we've already seen 2.
At least 1.
But obviously Brian does not know how many are in his opponent's deck list.
Mm-hmm. So this is interesting, right? Okay, let's say it is Kolaghan's Command. I think that we would have seen Andrew say 2 damage to Vendilion Click, make you discard your card.
Well, the Deceiver Exarch's dangerous to leave on the board.
Sure, I agree with that. Because you can lose to a top deck Splinter Twin.
Oh, sure, but you're saying because he has his own click,
yeah, he can say...
he can just attack twice and
yeah,
kill him.
kill your click, make you discard your twin.
Sure.
Attack you for 3 in the air twice. So Brian going to try again, obviously.
Yeah,
What do we have? Okay, Exarch's going to tap that. Again, it's another reprieve.
Yep, just another turn. But it gives him a chance to draw his own Splinter Twin.
Yep. Brian drew Serum Visions for the turn. Do you think you cast Serum Visions here?
It shows that the defenses are down if you do.
Yep.
So there's definitely an argument to be made for not doing it.
He's casting it. Scry 2. Twisted Image among those cards. Also a Pestermite. Bolt to the bottom. Pass the turn back. Tenjum untapping.
Once again, standard classic players, your pairings from round number 4 have been posted.
And he's dead. He can't find a way to get it off the battlefield. So Braun-Duin's going to win game number 1 here over Andrew Tenjum. Brian even looks a little surprised about that. Blue-red twin up a game over Grixis twin.
And that was a great game.
That's some good back and forth right there. I actually thought with Tenjum, with how much he made him discard there, I think Brian took the appropriate lines too of just, eventually I'm just going to lean on you and keep trying to go for it.
Sure. Well, and he didn't have answers in his own hand. So if his opponent ever drew the combo, he couldn't have stopped him.
Yeah.
So his only plan of attack is to try to beat him first.
That's what he was able to do. So we take a look at the sideboards here. We will start with Andrew Tenjum. 2 negates, 2 Pia Kieran Nalaar. 2 terminates, 2 Thoughtseize. Crumble to Dust is its static caster. Keranos Goddess Storms. Kolaghan's Command, Painful Truths. Shatterstorm, Tasker the Golden Fang. There are a million ways he can go here.
There are a lot of options here. He can choose to cut the combo from his deck, just try to go the control route, bring in the terminates, the Thoughtseizes, the negates, the Tasker, the other Kolaghan's Command, and just try to grind his opponent out. He could also choose to leave the combo in, just have just the Thoughtseizes and the negates, and just try to catch his opponent off guard and combo him out that way.
So if you're in the spot, you know, do you want to see the combo route? Do you want to go the grindy route? Like, is there something that you're more comfortable doing as a player?
I would expect him to go the more grindy route.
Okay.
A lot of the cards that are involved in the combo are not good by themselves.
That's true. I mean, Twin is pretty bad by itself.
Yes.
We have seen Andrew a couple of times put it on a Snapcaster Mage.
Sure.
And that's been pretty good, but you know, on the whole, when you draw a Splinter Twin, it's simply a win condition.
Yes.
So that does cause a little bit of problems there. On Brian's side, 3 Jace Architect Thought, 2 Blood Moon, 2 Rose, 2 Vandal Blast, 2 Rending Volley. Keranos Goddess Storms is static caster. Anger the Gods, negate.
So the negate's going to come in. If he expects his opponent to leave the combo in, definitely the Rending Volleys. And he can also go a more controlling route himself if he wants to, bring in the Keranos. The Jaces can fight that card advantage if he goes that route.
Yeah, I think this is the Rending Volleys for me are the most curious of the cards that he can bring in.
Yeah.
Because if Tenjum is still going the combo route, Rending Volley is good. If he's not, then you have a removal spell. It kind of just kills a 1/4 and doesn't do very much.
Sure.
Kills him dealing, kills Snapcaster Mage. Not sure if it's worth investing a sideboard slot for that type of card.
It's good enough that you need to put it in the deck.
Okay.
It does have plenty of targets to kill, and even if he hasn't gone the combo route, you still need to kill his creatures to have him not attack you to death.
Okay, there's the options there for both players. Fall Creature Collection is what we'll talk about here very quickly as these players are going to get underway because you see the clock for each of them. We got playmat sleeves and player bundles of some of your game night favorites, including the Otter, the Hippo, the Reindeer, and
the Penguillian Click.
Beautifully done. StarCityGames.com/creature collection for more information. We'll have a Winter 2016 collection on the way for you guys as well, but for now it's Fall 2015. StarCityGames.com/creature collection for more information. Back to that feature match we do go. As I do shuffle up, we'll learn a bit more about Braun-Duin, who did finally get his first open win in Las Vegas. You see the 4 Invitational top 8s, 13 Open Series top 8s with that W just a couple weeks ago. 4 Grand Prix top 8s with 2 wins in New Jersey and Louisville. Was his high school valedictorian, learned to play Magic in college, and was studying computer science before he decided to part ways with college to focus on the best card game in the world, and he's quite good at it.
He's doing all right for himself. He came into the game a little late.
He did.
A lot of people start younger.
Yeah. But he found something that works for him. 10-1, putting together a fantastic tournament. He's had so many great ones here on the SCG Tour. And now we get ready to watch him play yet again here. Him and Andrew Tenjum going to battle. Serum Visions here for Brian. He'll draw a card here in just a moment. We'll see him scry 2 as well. For Andrew Tenjum, no slouch in his own right. Did win here in Cincinnati when we were here in 2014. An impressive victory for him. Got the job done with Mono Black Devotion. There's a Desolate Lighthouse. That's land number 2. That's
not a great land drop for your second land.
No, it's not. That's just a little thing. That's something BBD can pick up on. A player of his caliber, and you play that second land, that's a colorless land. That's telling that you just don't have another land in hand, most likely. There's another Serum Visions from Brian. Here's a Remand. Well, somebody needs to land real bad.
Yep, he's going digging. And I appreciate the brisk pace with which Brian is playing. They both understand here that there's not a whole lot of time considering how long the games can go.
Yep. Here's another Remand. Yeah, Tenjum needs lands really bad, and it's definitely changing the way that he has to play the game. Serum Visions will resolve here for Brian. Update for you guys on our backup match. Didn't have time to head that way. Didn't think we would, but Todd Stevens with his Nye Company deck gave Jerry Thompson his 3rd loss, so Jerry Thompson is 0 for 3 today. Ended yesterday at 9-0. Now he is 9-3, and he might have just slipped out of top 8 contention.
It's that quick sometimes.
Yeah. Here's Deceiver Exarch right away. And now Serum Visions. So Tenjum was able to find land, and now Serum Visions will hopefully find him some more, as he will scry 2. And you see the pace of play has certainly quickened now, especially for Tenjum, who needs to win 2 games in this match. 1 card on top, 1 card on bottom from the scry as we head back over to BBD, who will draw a card. Desolate Lighthouse is a pretty nice 4th land. Tenjum will draw. Sulfur falls for him. Here's an attack for 1. Brian will fall down to 17. And we can see both players maybe start some lighthousing here. And Brian will start by activating his. He'll draw and discard. Misty Rainforest is down. Remand the draw for the turn. Sulfur falls. And now here's a Deceiver Exarch.
And you see how these decks both just play all of their cards on their opponent's turns.
Yep.
It's very unique for these strategies.
There's land number 5 from Tenjum. He's out of his land issues. Now he's attacking for 2. Trying to, in a roundabout way, because we see twin decks do this sometimes, be the aggressor.
Yeah.
A little bit of, poking taking place here with the Exarchs. And Brian falls down to 15. Maybe he starts falling down to 12. Then we get into Lightning Bolt Snapcaster range. And then maybe the dynamic of the game changes. Because really, if you think about it, players typically board out the infinite combo. But we also saw Tenjum a little bit early in the day, I think, in a twin mirror where he did have the infinite combo still in his deck.
Yeah, we saw him win with it.
Yeah. He'll activate the Lighthouse, discard a Polluted Delta, and now he's untapping. So for someone who couldn't find lands earlier, now he's discarding lands. Polluted Delta is land number 6. Here's an attack for 2. And Brian looks like he's making his move. Is it Static Caster? Huh.
That's an interesting sideboard decision.
Yeah.
It takes out Pestermites, it takes out the Snapcaster Mages, it takes out Vendilion Click.
Blocks Deceiver Exarch.
It blocks the Deceiver Exarch all day.
There's a Lightning Bolt. All right, that'll resolve. A very interesting decision to have that in. Did not expect that to come in.
No, neither did I.
Brian will untap those 3 lands. Take a draw as we head towards his 7th turn. Another copy of Desolate Lighthouse in hand. He'll play that. We're going to go over to Tenjum. Looks like Tenjum has some end of turn effects.
A little more digging with the Lighthouse.
Yep. Brian has the opportunity to respond now if he'd like. But no response. Spell Snare the discard. Back to Tenjum. It's an attack for 2.
Yeah, and just a slow grind with these 1/4s, putting a little pressure on Brian and leaving all of his lands up to cast removal, to cast counter spells. So putting the pressure on and keeping himself safe.
Harvest Pyre. That's going to take care of one Exarch. That'll cut the clock in half. Now here's a Lighthouse activation. Discarding an island. Brian will draw. There's the Serum Visions. Jace, Architect of Thought was the draw off the Serum Visions. One on top, one on bottom here for Brian.
So he has sideboarded in a significant number of cards here.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if he has the combo still.
It would be difficult for him to have all the cards in his deck.
Yeah. Maybe. I guess it's possible there's like 1 or 2 copies of Splinter Twin.
Sure.
You know, maybe not the whole thing.
And with how long this matchup goes, you don't need all 4.
That's definitely true. Here's another Exarch. Tenjum looking to tap down the Steam Events. That'll work. Now he's untapping and drawing.
And this is the point in the game where an Inquisition or a Thoughtseize would really just give Tenjum so much information.
It's appropriate that you said that because we haven't seen a discard spell yet.
Nope.
And, you know, the information is what helped Tenjum almost win game number 1. It's here's Electrolyze. And he has not got any information yet on what Brian's hand is. We haven't seen really any of the black cards, Kolaghan's Command or discard spells. Electrolyze there, cycled by Brian. Tenjum takes 2 in the exchange. Brian with a mitt full of cards, and he's done a nice job of, you know, activating the Lighthouse, getting the garbage out of his hand to make sure that his hand is just all gas.
Yep.
There's a basic island off of the Polluted Delta there from Tenjum.
But eventually he's going to have to make a move here.
Yeah, that's the one thing. You know, he's done a nice job of building up a hand, but now he's got to convert those resources into something that matters.
You know, a couple more shots from these Deceivers, and, you know, being in 6 is pretty dangerous range.
Here's a Mendelian Click. Cryptic Command here.
Yeah, and that click is just so dangerous. Gives him all the information. It's a real big threat in the air.
Dispel going to go after the command. That's 4 mana for 1 mana.
Very efficient.
Yeah. Brian has a Dispel of his own. Looks like he'll Dispel back. All right, click down. Cryptic Command resolves. Tenjum untapping. Tenjum drawing. As far as card quality and card density goes, this here's an Inquisition finally. I think that probably favors Brian. We take a look at his hand. 2 Remands, Keranos, Jason, Deceiver, Exarch. But as you said, he's got to actually get these spells on the battlefield.
Yeah, he's reluctant to tap out on his own turn for anything. And you see how Tenjum has been able to deploy threats during Brian's end step.
As far as cards that Tenjum can select here, Deceiver, Exarch, 2 Remands. Looks like he's going to go with Deceiver.
Keep the path clear for his own.
Attack for 2. Brian falls down to 7. And Brian going to untap and draw. Misty Rainforest is what he's found.
And if that Jace resolves, it can stop the clock from the Deceiver Exarch.
Yeah, it changes the game a lot. I think Brian's going to go for it now. And this might cause a bit of a fight. Here's a Remand.
It's going to be a lot of remands back and forth.
Also, what's kind of interesting about this spot, we saw Brian in the last game remand his own spell.
Yep.
I think Brian might be forced to remand the remands now.
Yeah, he has to try to get this Jace onto the board.
Nobody likes remanding a remand when the opponent can replay the remand, but I think Brian might have to. There is remand.
And it looks like it is targeting the remand.
Yep. So Brian will draw. There's the remand again.
Oh, he had it? So lucky.
The luckiest.
Yeah.
How do you think he's 10-1? Now here's Dispel. That'll take care of that. Jace is in, up to 5. Misty Rainforest, pass the turn back. Tenjum very quickly untapping and drawing. Taking a look at the graveyard, perhaps the Snapcaster Mage in hand. Could also be a Kolaghan's Command. Here's Snap.
2-mana Snapcaster.
Serum Visions needs to get a little deeper into the deck. Looks like Brian is considering remanding the Serum Visions.
And we see just how quickly Brian went from his full grip to a flurry of counterspell battles to almost no cards.
Yeah. Spell Snare will fight that. Visions will resolve. Two cards to the bottom.
Very grindy matchup.
There's nothing quick about it. There's a lot of back and forth. I think it's, for me, I think it's the most fun match in Modern.
Very skill intensive. So many decisions that are made.
Yeah.
It's rare that one person just, gets mana screwed and doesn't play the game.
Here's Keranos now. Jace is starting to take over. Now, the one thing here is that Brian has fallen down to 6. So Bolt plus Snapcaster, double Bolt, stuff like that is certainly on the table now.
Yep.
Here comes Snapcaster.
And the Snapcaster's going to pick off a little bit of the Jace loyalty.
A little surprised by that. So here's an activation of the Lighthouse. Discard Jace, draw 2 cards. Curious what Tenjum's hand is now, too.
Andrew's going to go filtering with his own Lighthouse. The game's really turned on him here. His opponent's got two very powerful cards in play. His Deceivers have been blanked.
The longer we go now, the worse it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's about Andrew has to close the game now because Brian also gets to filter his draws. And he gets to do it twice a turn. He's going to discard Splinter Twin. Okay, so he's left out. He's left in at least one.
Sure.
Yep. Snapcaster Mage is the reveal. That's going upstairs. And Jace goes up to 7. You can tell with the way Brian's played this particular game that he has been here before.
Yes. Yeah, he was fine taking damage for a while from the Deceiver X-Arts.
Mm-hmm.
He was very patient getting enough lands into play where he could fight the counter wars the way he wanted to.
No panic, solid pace of play. Knew when to pick his spots with the counter magic, as you said. Knew when he wanted to try to resolve Jace and Keranos.
Yep. And I feel like both of these players have done a good job of playing at a reasonable pace, but you can see how little time is left in the round despite that.
Yeah. Electrolyze. That'll resolve. Next up here for Brian. Vendilion Click. I am curious to see what Tenjum is working with over there.
Oh, yeah.
He hasn't been doing much of anything. Tenjum going to take a look at the graveyard here again. Kolaghan's Command, Snapcaster Mage play a role in things.
Sure, it looks like he's let the click resolve and made Brian choose a target. And now he's wondering if he wants to cast any of the spells in his hands.
Well, there is the hand. Thoughtseize, Snapcaster Mage, Terminate, and a Polluted Delta.
Snapcaster's going to go to the bottom.
Yep. Mystery card coming. Kolaghan's Command, I believe.
And we'll see if Andrew wants to cast another spell here while most of Brian's lands are tapped.
Attention, two-headed giant teams. Two-headed giant teams, your CD for deck construction is up on the
There's K Command.
to the left of the stage.
Shoot that.
2 damage to that. Return to Snapcaster.
Okay.
Please make your way to your seats.
Brian might have other ideas. Snapcaster Mage. Seems like a good target for Dispel.
Yep.
No K Command for Andrew. And now Brian gets to do all the untapping. Mountain means Brian gets another draw. You see the clock here. About to be under 3 minutes. And Brian in a pretty good position.
Yeah, I expect him to be able to close this game out in a turn or two. Between the click, the Keranos, it looked like he drew a lightning bolt.
Oh, yeah, Keranos time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
He woke up.
I had to do a quick count there.
Yep.
Keranos is furious. I would probably block it.
An astute play.
Yeah. I don't want to take 6. Exarch down. 3 damage dealt. Tenjum going to fall down to 7. Lighthouse activation. Rending Volley in hand now. There goes a Mountain. Jace going to go up to 8. Make sure that Exarch doesn't do anything. Here's Lighthouse activation from Tenjum. There goes Polluted Delta. Andrew quickly untapping and drawing. Can he win this game and make this a tie?
Brian has such a big lead here.
He really does. He's just done a really nice job of building up a big lead, too.
Yeah.
Tenjum will just pass the turn back. Brian with a lightning bolt in hand, too. Could play an Exarch. He's going to wait. Draw. Sulfur Falls, which means he gets another card. Picked up a copy Negate. Negate might be it.
Yeah, the game was in hand before.
Yeah.
The negate is just a little icing on top. Jace is going to go ultimate.
Oh, yes. Yes. Show me that Jace Architect of Thought Ultimate. For each player, search that player's library for a non-land card and exile it. Then that player shuffles his or her library. You may cast those cards without paying their mana cost. So Brian will get to search Andrew's deck
And his own deck.
and his own deck. Just wants to make sure he knows what he's got there. So that's what he was working towards, huh? He's probably looking for a lightning bolt or something. Kolaghan's Command will work. It's a lot of value.
A lot of value.
Yeah, now he just gets to push through some more damage. Gonna get another Jace. Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Also, getting this Jace allows him to turn back on Keranos
Yep.
to attack. He'll have to select some modes on Kolaghan's command here. But I think what we've watched here is a expertly navigated match here by Braun-Duin.
Yeah, he's done a great job of using his resources, picking his spots, and it looked like during the mid-game, Andrew was kind of backing him into a corner by attacking over and over with the 2 X-Arcs. Brian was very patient. Like you said, no panic involved, and worked his way into this very dominant board position.
Yeah, it's almost impossible for Tenjum to come back, and he will extend the hand. Braun-Duin going to win this match here over Andrew Tenjum, 2-0. Blue-Red Twin going to take care of Grixis Twin, and for Brian, he moves on to 11-1. A very impressive display by him. Really, really good stuff there.